Hi, it's Michael. Reading or watching biographies can be a two-edged sword, helpful and not so helpful. And also, reading certain autobiographies can be actually detrimental to us, and all this will be explained shortly. On one hand, reading a biography of a person we look up to, we regard as a role model, or even as a teacher, a person of a positive authority, of inspiration, can be to some degree positive and helpful. Yet at the same time, we are also diving into the person's life, which is extremely unique to the person. Every incarnation is tailored to the specific person, and nobody else has the same incarnation incarnation meaning life. Nobody else goes through the same life, through the same experiences. They may be similar in many ways, but each life is unique to the specific person. So when we start delving into the person's life, we become exposed to the things the person had to go through: diseases, pains, surgeries, accidents, being bullied in school, and so on. And our subconscious mind is exposed to it as well, and we can become programmed, even subconsciously, with this stuff, to accept it into our life as that we also should go through it in some way or form, which of course may be a complete falsity, but because we got kind of hypnotized by it, unwittingly even, then we may experience some of it to some degree, and that is completely unnecessary. The spirit, the source of life, is perfectly happy, so to speak. It is perfectly congruent with harmonious with the spirit for our lives to be healthy, joyful, free of accidents, free of diseases, and so on. If they are or they are not, that depends on our spiritual bank account, also called karma, what we have to work on spiritually. At the same time, if we accept into our life all these, let's call it sufferings, it may not be sufferings, but let's call it sufferings, accepted from other people, then it unnecessarily distracts our life, and again, it is unnecessary. And even enlightened people can go through weird diseases and surgeries without being anesthetized and so on, and we don't have to. So it's dangerous for us to program ourselves, to hypnotize ourselves with this stuff. So it can be said that it's better to stay away from these detailed biographies. It may be beneficial to read a brief recap of the person's life, of the person's achievements, how the person was able to inspire and help others. But to actually dive into the person's life, to the details, to the nitty-gritty, that probably is better to stay away from. And as well, autobiographies of certain people, and people who are at a lower energy level, and many of these people are famous entertainers, famous politicians, famous public persons in whatever walk of life, and or even they can be to some degree athletes or climbing Mount Everest and so on. Yet, when a person writes an autobiography, the person also inputs their energy into the autobiography. It can be said the person dumps their issues, their energy into the autobiography. So if the person is not the most positive, and many times we cannot tell consciously if the person is positive or not, then we connect with those negative issues that the person dumped into the autobiography, and it can and does affect us if we read it. And this can be quite an unpleasant experience, and it can sidetrack our life. We can get stuck with it. So it's better not to read autobiographies of people who are not authentic, positive teachers and inspiration guides. So again, mainly this is talking about entertainers and public figures that come to us through glamour, through exposure on TV, and so on. It's better to stay away from that. Let's not underestimate this stuff. Remember that what we can sense with our five senses and with our intellect is only a tiny part of what's really going on. The most of what's really going on goes below the radar in the so-called invisible world, and we need to be very careful. As they say, straight and narrow is the positive and healthy path, so let's not get sidetracked with bullshit. So again, biographies and autobiographies, probably better to abstain from. If it's a brief recap of the person's life, if it's a positive person, it can be very inspirational, very helpful. It all depends. One way to verify is to take it to a neuro-emotional technique doctor and check it with an ET, verify it. It can very quickly and accurately tell you if it's good for you or not. And if you've already read some autobiography, let's say by an actor or by a rap singer, oh gosh, rap singers, let's not start there, then you can check with NET if you have been affected by some of their issues. And believe me, these people have issues, and you don't want those issues. Trust that. So, and if you have been affected by their issues, then NET can help you discharge them, release them. All right? And of course, if you have been exposed to some biographies, autobiographies, or whatever entertainment that you suspect may not have been the most positive, asking the spirit, the source of life, for help, guidance and protection is also essential. So this is all for this talk. If there are any questions or comments, they can be left below the video. Wishing you a healthy and joyful life. Michael out.